So today it's a little bit different of a setup. So Salonia and I are obviously not together. We're testing a new time. So we'll see how this works for everyone, but it's 9 p.m. here in Singapore. Yeah, today's episode is all about staying or going and how to get your mind right about career change. So if you're at a career crossroads or sitting on the fence about career change, there's obviously some common challenges and barriers that we all go through. Such as decision making, do you want to stay or go, or what are the risks involved in making a career change? Having some sort of risk management sometimes helps when we're looking at making a career change. And sometimes also we struggle in taking action. So it's easier to do nothing. And that allows us to be stuck in where we are and not necessarily move forward. So I want to share with you a few stats before Sol shares sort of a few things as well. But career change is the new normal, and there's 98% of workers worldwide that are currently disengaged. 80% feel a mismatch of skills and job scope. And the average person will make a career change approximately 10 to 15 times. So that's about 12 job changes during their career. And by the age of 42, you're expected to have 10. So obviously, there's a lot that we can think about when it comes down to getting your mind right for career change.
Yes, and I guess, Grace, both you and I would have a pretty good idea about shifting careers and how often it can change. And I think, probably one of the hardest things is that it is such an emotionally challenging journey because there's so many times when we let our self-limiting beliefs kind of stand in our way. We tell ourselves we don't have enough skills, we don't have enough knowledge, we don't have enough experience. And I guess we always have a choice, right, to kind of develop ourselves and step into that challenge or kind of let it hold us back. And I guess the hard thing as well, when you're in a transition or you're thinking about it, is that when you're unhappy at work, it gets really hard to, I guess, see things a bit more objectively and clearly. I know I've definitely been there where when you're unhappy at work, it gets really hard to get through the work week, always living for Fridays. And it kind of, I guess, adds to right? Where it's hard to really see opportunities and instead you focus a lot on the barriers. So I guess one big tip that we would share as the Change School and I would share personally is that it's really about remembering that everything's within your control. How you go through your day, the attitude you have about your work, the positivity you bring to new possibilities are really what getting your mind right is all about, right?
So yeah, I guess, to follow on from that, it's really about how do we try and reframe our thinking. So oftentimes when we are trying to get our mindset right, or when we're thinking about things, we can tend to have more of a negative mindset, but sometimes instead of looking at it that way, how do we tend to look at challenges as opportunities? So really for us, it's emphasizing reframing our thinking. So one of the things I want to throw out there is when you're going through the process of thinking about a career change, how do you think about what is the opportunity cost of doing nothing? So what does it mean for you if you sit where you are right now and you don't make the change? What are you missing out on? Or what could you do more of if you were to make that move? So what does it mean for career fulfillment? What does it mean for your creative potential? What does it mean for your happiness in general and your well-being? For many, sometimes career, equals hard work, maybe 7 to midnight. And a lot of the times it could mean that you're burning out, which is a huge issue right now as well. So, these are things that you need to question and really think about is what, again, is that opportunity cost if you do nothing at all? So I would like to throw out there, and maybe you can take some time later on to reflect, is like, what are the opportunities for you to grow in your current situation? Or if it's not in your current situation, just in general, where are the opportunities for you to grow? So in doing that, we're going to take you through 3 steps, which will help you, or are 3 steps that are going to help you sort of figure out your next steps and hopefully help you to shift that mindset and get you ready to either stay or go and make that big career move. So the first step is really assessing your current situation and your barriers. And really understanding like what's working, what's not working in your situation in work, but also life. And I guess for us at the Change School, it's not so much work or life. We really do look at it as life work. So how do you align your values with your work and with your life? And what we talked about last week is, how we found our whys. So how do you try and reconnect that back to your why? The next is, when you're assessing your situation, is what are the self-limiting beliefs that you have? Everyone has them. And what are those self-limiting beliefs that stand in your way in either staying in your current work and progressing in that career, or in moving? So is it fear of failing? Is it fear of the unknown? For a lot of people that we speak to, it's usually, the fear of the unknown. Sometimes it's the financial fear of like not knowing what's going to happen if they leave their job without something else. Sometimes it's judgment, fear of judgment from their peers or their family, etc. So the other thing to think about is, what are the risks that you perceive? So how much risk are you willing to take or to accept in order to make this move or make this change? So I think when we're talking about move or change, Sol, right, we're probably also wanting to emphasize that you can change careers in the same company. So you could move into a job in the same company that maybe is either, a better position or something new and more challenging, or it means moving into a completely different company, or perhaps starting your own business. So think about, what does good work mean for you? And where does good work mean for you? Is it in your current situation or lifestyle, or is it somewhere else? So step 2, Sol will share with us.
Yeah, so step 2 kind of expands on like what we said earlier, right? Is, reframing challenges, and some of the questions that Grace, you just threw out, are a really good starting point, right? I mean, the things that we're afraid of are usually the best place to start working on, right? And to start rebuilding and reconstructing and reshaping how we look at it. So I think, sort of the risks that we all think about, I think a key point there is that always perception. So, what risk means to you in one situation might be very different for me. And I think, one common, I guess, idea we have is that there's ever a way to de-risk everything, which is just impossible in life in general, as well, and certainly with your career. So I think when it comes to risk, it's really thinking about, what risk are you willing to accept, right? Is it a pay cut? And if it is a pay cut, it's not forever, but it's for a certain period. And what is that runway for you, right? And I guess another risk we sort of perceive sometimes, like I mentioned earlier, is okay, lack of knowledge or experience. Well, those aren't fixed things, right? We have that opportunity. Reconstructing and rebuilding is about, again, leaning into that opportunity and thinking, okay, maybe it's about enrolling in a course, or reaching out to a mentor, even a peer, somebody who has knowledge in a new area of interest that can share some insight, or even point you in the right direction to upskill, so that you have that confidence. I think the other thing, to your point about staying or going, right? I think a big piece of making that decision is kind of reaching out and talking to people, whether it's within your company or outside of your company. I think so often when we're stuck at a career crossroads, we go it alone and we kind of like retreat into ourselves. But you know, if you're looking at a sort of internal shift within your company, can you speak to your manager or to your HR person? Is there someone, even, you know, your CEO if it's a smaller company, or your business partner if you're running a company, to really see how you can address some of the challenges or fears or concerns you have. So yeah, I guess, you know, just to recap, it's sort of, yeah, reaching out for help, you know, rethinking how you look at gaps and looking at how you can actively fill those gaps. And then also, yeah, planning ahead if there are risks or worries or fears that you have, so that you can feel more confident about them from the start.
Yeah, so I think, you know, step 3 for us is usually about how do you create the actionable steps. So, you know, how do you focus your energy or your attention on your next most actionable step? So is that a assessment, right? Or there's free assessments out there for whether it's Myers-Briggs, whether it's, you know, Enneagrams or other sort of personality tests that are out there. So is your first actionable step an assessment, or is it to find a career coach, or maybe to find a mastermind group, or whatever it is, a supportive community? There's plenty of them out there. You know, you can just usually go to meetup.com, or you go onto Eventbrite or PTix or any one of those, and you usually can find various different communities that have, you know, perhaps some sort of support. Or our own, or we have our own Career Shifters Facebook group, where if you would like to join, you can find it under groups on our Facebook page, and just join, and we'll just ask you to get a few questions. You'll have to answer a few questions, and then we'll be able to connect with you in there. So definitely supportive community, guided reflection through maybe an assessment, or even, you know, taking time out and doing your own guided reflection. There's plenty of people that do that. Or like Sol said, you know, building confidence in upskilling maybe. So how do you upskill yourself, enroll in a course, explore different opportunities, and then even look at maybe a side hustle or volunteering in a position that you are quite interested in exploring further. So I guess, yeah, what does this mean for you? Or, you know, how are you really going to take those actionable steps moving forward?
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's, I hope nobody's felt overwhelmed with us sort of sharing all these different ideas. I think the important thing, you know, that we really want to emphasize too is that, you know, you're probably not going to decide whether to stay or go tomorrow, right? And I think nothing about career change and transition is quick or easy. And I think, you know, if there's one thing you take away from this, it would be just to remember that, you know, it is this sort of process and journey of ups and downs. And sometimes you'll feel like you know exactly what to do, and sometimes you're going to get stuck, and it's all part of that journey. And I think if you can just be guided by this idea of how do I learn, how do I grow, how can I further myself, and how can I come closer to what I really love, right? Rather than, you know, these ideas of I should be doing this, or I have to have that paycheck, or whatever it is, right? And then we've got some tools to help.
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, I think anything to do with change, as we'll probably say throughout every one of our videos or episodes that we do, is a process. And so today's worksheet is going to help you to get your mind right. It's probably more going to kickstart you to getting your mind right. So it's got 20 questions that will, you know, want you to reflect on and maybe set your career change intention. And you're more than welcome to share it with us if you want, via emailing us. So to download it, and we will share it on our Facebook page, the link, because it is a little bit mouthy, but it's bit.ly/Change School TV 02 download. And we'll share that on the Facebook post as well as the replay. So don't worry, it will be there. And we're really working to try and getting the link up and testing a few different things with our Facebook Lives. So as we go through each one, hopefully, it'll be easier for everyone. But yeah, download your worksheet, get your questions going, reflect, set your career intention. Feel free to email us if you want at hello@thechangeschool.com with your career intention, and we can give some feedback. Maybe we can send you through a couple of our thoughts. Yeah, so.
Yeah, and also, I mean, again, if you want to have more feedback, feel free to throw it into the Career Shifters group as well. I think we have such a great community in there, and they've all been like really generous about sharing tips and ideas and inspiration, and we've even had like web design feedback. So yeah, the more you share, the more you put in, the more you put out, as with everything. And so whether you sort of work through that and kind of find yourself in a better headspace, or maybe you're already there and just ready to move forward, we also have our 5-week online course coming up on how to confidently create your bold career move. You may have seen quite a few updates about that on our page or in our newsletter, but just to reveal a little bit more, what that really includes, which would be relevant to what we talked about today, is there is a career assessment in there, so it will help you to sort of uncover your strengths and your skills and your personality traits that really make you unique. There is a huge chunk on career exploration, how to do that in a more sort of systematic way. We will go into really identifying and diving deep into the barriers you face and how do you sort of rechannel fear into focus, like we talked about earlier. And, I think the whole point with transition, right, is kind of having that middle step before you take the leap. And that's really what this course is about, is helping you to build something, a plan of a duration that you're comfortable with, to really, I guess, pilot or experiment with ideas that you might be having for your next step before you take that next step. So if you want to know more about that, just sign up to our early registration list, and that is bit.ly/early interest 2017, and we'll throw that link out as well, just so you guys can click through easily.
Yeah, so if you're still on the fence about whether you should stay or go, definitely replay or rewatch this video. Think about the 3 steps. First, reframe your mind and your way of looking at challenges and opportunities, and then really try and take yourself through a reflective process and using some tools and resources that some of our reflective questions, and then see what is that one key actionable step that you can do. So tell us your greatest challenges, share with us your career intentions, or any questions that you have. It's hello@thechangeschool.com, and Sol and I will be there to answer any questions. And also connect with us on the Career Shifters Facebook group if you are feeling like you're wanting to shift your careers. So we'll share all those links. And next week, we're going to test another time for our Facebook Live, and we'll probably test another format as well. So we're all about testing and change at the Change School. So we'll be sharing more information on our newsletter about each week's Facebook Live or our Change School TV episodes. So if you haven't yet, jump on to our website, thechangeschool.com, and you will be able to subscribe to our newsletter, and you will be notified about the next Facebook Live. So next week, we are talking about
getting unstuck.
How to get unstuck in life and work. So new time, which it's all about surprises here, and a new format perhaps, right? So we're keeping you on your toes, and
ourselves.
So hopefully you guys have, taken 1 or 2 things from today's talk and today's Change School TV episode. And yeah, we'll sort of see you next week, I guess.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks, guys.